Hey everyone, Sumo Spiffy here. September's dropped in and that means the Aki Basho is on the way. Given all the injury news coming out, we delayed this a bit to have the best information possible, but now it's time to grab your mugs, have a seat, and enjoy the tea as we try to recover from July's absolute trash fire of a tier list. S tier. S is for super and special and ain't nobody that this time, at least not without a big ass asterisk next to their name. Here we call that asterisk S injury tier. Regular viewers will not be surprised to see Terunofuji and Takayasu at this spot on the list. Broke Down Mountain surprised a lot of people by grinding through the entirety of July, although winning the tournament wasn't much of a shock once he made it to day 15. But the last two times he dropped his day 14 and 15 matches, he started the next tournament and did not finish. Even if he does start this September, feel free to place a bet on when he drops out. Takayasu is the S-iest S tier of all time down at Maegashira 15, as long as he can stay in the Basho. His injury woes have slapped a question mark on his ability to last a full tournament pretty much every time out now. On the other hand, in the 14 non-COVID Bashos where he went Kyujo for part or all of it, his lowest rank for any of them was Maegashira 3. It doesn't mean he'll stay completely healthy. Last year he was Maegashira 7, got hurt, but did stay in and finished 7 and 8. But it sure as hell increases the odds he can skate through to a good record without having to work as hard as up on top of the division. Maybe those Papa Yusho dreams are set to become a reality. A tier. Onosato and Wakataka Kage. It says something when you're 9 and 6 and everyone looks at it as a disappointment. July showed Onosato has some room to grow, he's only putting up decent numbers at all stables practice, and Hiradeumi's trying to crash his party, so he definitely hasn't swung back to S tier. I'm tempted to drop him to B, but Onosato appears to be the only healthy wrestler in the top 7, and it's not like he had any lucky wins in July. Unless he's really slacking off in training, a winning record seems to be his absolute floor, and I think he'll manage that plus 2 more wins. But let's knock off the Ozeki coronation for the time being. Wakataka Kage took a few goofy losses in July, but still, few guys around him should be a threat. He's the closest we have to an S tier pick, but Gonoyama's dropped to his featherbed of mid Maegashira and might give a run for the most wins in that part of the division. Nevertheless, Wakataka Kage is super solid and should be a pick in pretty much any fantasy game you play. A injury tier. If you wondered where we stuck the Ozeki, look no further. Kotozakura has never been at this tier despite his knee brace because that's been on for so long it's replaced his personality. But now he's openly admitting to a back injury, and you can ask Kirishima and Meisei what it's like when you start dealing with that shit. Still, he's doing pretty well in practice, so the risk of his injury being a problem should be low. Hoshoryu's here mainly because of hitting the unintentional splits against Koto in July. It seems like he should be fine, but we thought the same after he sprained his ankle, and he definitely wasn't 100% at the start of the tournament. But since his 11-4 in November 2022, the only time he finished under 10 wins without an injury was after he won a Yusho and got promoted to Ozeki all at once. So if you count a month-long hangover as an injury, he's always gone 10 wins when healthy, and sometimes even when he's not. Injury risk on both these guys should be minimal, but it is not zero. They go in the injury risk section. B tier. Hiradeumi stands, let's get on the same page. Your boy is looking mighty impressive. He's absolutely benefiting from the fact that he and Onosato are probably the only 2 healthy Sanyaku wrestlers, but hey, a win is a win, and beating up unbroken men all counts the same in sumo. Gonoyama's a healthy wrestler who beat Hoshoryu and Onosato in July, which means he had exactly 0 business finishing 5 and 10. The problem is that he absolutely refuses to realize that being an inch taller than Takakeisho and just as round doesn't mean you'll be a better Takakeisho. Fortunately, he's dropped to Maegashira 6, so the nasty Senyaku will leave him alone unless he already has 8 wins, so he should be a lock for a winning record. Ura beats his ass sideways and Wakataka Kage should also flatten him out, but it's hard to see any other really likely losses around him. He'll be like Al Bundy reminiscing about high school, then get thrown back into the shoe store in November. Onokatsu and Shirokuma fill out B tier for slightly different reasons. Onokatsu absolutely dominated Juryo in May, only losing the Yusho because Wakataka Kage's knee was 2 months further along from surgery. The issue is he's a very good defensive fighter who still doesn't have a great attacking rhythm yet. For a guy who was looking like the next big thing, he'll probably have some rough days ahead, but at rank 13 he should fight most of the guys between himself and the bottom. I don't think enough will take advantage of his weaknesses even though they damn sure should be able to. On the flip side, Shirokuma looked like he was going to stomp through Juryo before spinning his wheels there for a year. But he looked healthy in July in taking the Yusho, and if you exclude absolute busted-ass Mitoryu a couple of tournaments ago, nobody's won the Juryo Yusho, been promoted to Makuuchi, and finished with a losing record since 2020. Hell, almost all of them had at least 10 wins. It's hard to see Shirokuma falling off that recent history by more than 2 wins. B. Injury tier. The Kiri's not alright, and if this keeps up, we're gonna have to treat this version of him as just who he is now. He generally beat who he should beat in July. Having to test Takanosho near the end was a bit of bad luck, but he still squeaked out 8 wins. Even a simply healthier, not even healthy version of Kirishima should lock in a winning record, but if he gets any worse, who knows what's coming. Now, what do we say about the Battle Hamster? Enjoy the ride, folks, because the competition is about the same as last time, and if he can't do any better, this might be his last rodeo. Wakamoto Haru's toe injury from May pretty clearly started messing with him halfway through July, and it looks like one of those things that could throw him off at any time until it's clearly healed. Toes are a pain in the ass. Kinbozan spent a glorious 3 days in July looking like he wasn't about to let a little bit of injury woes stop him, but then he went back to not being able to beat anyone. If it's his neck again, that's starting to look like more of a permanent issue, and Captain Faceplant's knee has probably landed him at this tier forever. We know Hokuto Fuji can stomp people at this rank with 2 legs, but now he's got to prove he can do it with 1. C+. Daisho has spent the last couple years as a weird near lock to get winning records in the Sanyaku, and if he didn't, to bounce back up as soon as he dropped into Maegashira. But losing to Mitakeumi, Oho, and an admittedly motivated Chura no Umi near the end of July isn't a great sign. He's a very high C+, if only because so many of those above him are completely busted up and he doesn't have to face tablemate Tobizaru, but it keeps looking like he's not going to get any better from here. Tobizaru is a dead-on 50-50 pick. He's going to struggle against the Sanyaku as a whole, and nearly running the non-Sanyaku table like he did in July isn't likely to happen twice. Plus, where he might have been able to hope Teruno Fuji drops out before their match if he was lower ranked, now, if Teru's in at all, he's going to eat Tobi's lunch on day 3. But there are enough winnable fights for him to bump over to 1 East and hope he can force himself into the Sanyaku in November, and if Teru's completely out, that helps him as well. Ura. Look, okay, Ura's final record is largely dependent on his Sanyaku matches. Takayasu's absence put him in the blender in July. 2 injuries above him could put him in the same line of fire this time. If Teruno Fuji drops out, especially early, that's 1. Nobody else stands out as an obvious candidate to go Kyujo, and if that holds up, Ura should mostly avoid the Sanyaku and do okay. If it doesn't, there's gonna be some sad days in Spiffville. Meisei. Stick Meisei in the joy and he breaks. Take him out of the joy and he shines. Life's a little tougher with Gonoyama and Wakataka Kage right there, but overall, this should be a relative vacation for him. Endo's another 50-50, and I waffled on this one. Putting him here is mainly because we got too many others at C-, and even with the upgrade in competition, he's got a decent chance of 8 wins if he can keep wrestling the way he has been. I called Oshoma for a probable winning record last time at rank 9, he started 7-5, then flopped to 7-8. He was right there, and I think he's at least 50-50 to make that slight improvement to 8 wins this time. Iron Man Tamawashi has 3 straight 7-8s, and now he dropped into a spot without any real nasty competition too close to him. Perfect setup for picking up a few ranks. I did have Roga at C-, but looking at who he beat last time, the fact a lot of them are still in range to be scheduled against him, and he didn't look too bad in July, that just nudges him past the 50-50 line. And while Sada no Umi definitely shows his wear and tear when he gets into the mid-ranks, he shows up every day and still tends to win down at double digits. C-. This group is pretty big, and it was even bigger. Someone in here is definitely going to go 9 or 10 wins and make me look like an idiot, but the logic for why none of them will do it is as sound as I can make it. Takanosho. Before July, the only time Takanosho did better than 8 wins in the last 2 years was at Maegashira 12. He didn't get lucky last Basho, he's really that good. What isn't good is his ACL, and those injuries don't go away. He could pop off again if he's magically found a way to keep his knee in line for the whole tournament, but if not, this is gonna get ugly. Atami Fuji. The meme is to predict exactly an 8-7 record for Atami, since that'll put him at Maegashira 1 again, but he was only 4-8 last Basho before he got served up the kind of competition a 4-8 record gets you. Maybe he can improve by going 5-7 and eating the rest of that schedule to get his Kachikoshi, but Hoshoryu was his only impressive win. That's not a performance to put faith in. Shodai. It would be the most Shodai thing in the world to go 11-4 and make it back to the Sanyaku, but come on. He's gonna have to fight all of them. It's not happening. Kota Shoho. Record high ranks for guys on a string of 8-7s doesn't frequently go well. When they're gonna get some Sanyaku matches, and they're one injury away from nearly a full slate, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Not putting him D tier because that schedule question means he could theoretically wind up okay, but low percentage chance of a winning record here. Risky pick unless Ozeki Koto does a soul swap with him. Shona Naomi. Shona Naomi's always going to be connected to Gonoyama since they came up to this division together and they're like the reverse of each other. Gonoyama knows what to do but can't change it often enough to be even a little unpredictable, whereas Shona Naomi has a bigger bag of tricks but too often doesn't seem to know what to do with it. He has 3 7-8 records at essentially this rank, and every one started strong before going to shit in the second week. He does just well enough to get stuck against competition that he can't beat. He's a high C-, and probably should be C+, but I can't keep saying he's odds on to get a winning record and then watch this happen again. Churanaumi. I don't think a losing record is an absolute given for Churanaumi, but with Gonoyama, Wakataka Kage, and Endo sitting right there, that's not a good start. I bet that 10-5 record felt good, but this is what flying too close to the sun gets you. At least Icarus flapped hard enough to be worth a fighting spirit prize. Midori Fuji. The 5-10 at Maegashira 6 was bad enough. Only getting a winning record at rank 10 because Asanoyama blew out his knee might be worse. Maybe Midori's slowing down, maybe his tricks are too known, I don't know, but his game's not working the way it used to. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets 8 or even 9 wins, but the dream of even high Maegashira life looks like it's starting to fall apart for little man. Ichi Yamamoto. Rank 8, 4-11. Rank 7, 5-10. Now Ichi's rank 9, the highest he's gotten apart from those 2 tournaments, and the competition isn't any easier. I suppose he might beat Wakataka Kage again, especially since Waka's struggles against Kageyaki show he's still working on how to deal with guys who get their hands in his face, but Waka's hardly his only problem matchup. Speaking of Kageyaki, he's C- because this is what Kageyaki does. He has a good tournament, makes you think, he's not that bad, and then makes you pay as soon as you show a little faith in him. And now that I've said that, he's probably going to go 9-6 again so more people have faith in him and he can let more people down. Kageyaki is the god of fickleness. Nishiki Fuji. Man, just get the f out of here. C. Injury tier. Given all the other injuries in the Sanyaku, I figured Abi would probably be a C+ pick. Then he hurt his back so badly he thought it might be career-ending. I guess he could still do well if he has Japan's best acupuncturist, but there's no way to know until the Basho starts. Nishikigi moved extremely gingerly during that disastrous 0-8 start in July, then either felt better or stopped giving a f*** because he started yeeting dudes for real. I assume he'll still be a physical mess, but if he's not, he could be a major wildcard. And Ryuden, I mean, it's really hard to go 10-5 at Maegashira 14, then 3-12 at Maegashira 8. The difference in competition isn't that extreme. So either he's hurt and he's just able to overcome it at lower ranks, or my particular theory is correct, and he tanks himself so he has an easier time scoring very good records at a low rank. Doing that earns him extra bonus money for as long as he keeps fighting, because you get more bonus money following a 10-5 with a losing record than if you go 8-7 both times. I hate it more because it's probably a good way to play the system and I wish someone I respected did it instead. Finally, D tier. Oho's been near the top and not gotten as completely clapped as expected, but also has never found a winning record in the Joy. I suppose he could get 8 wins if he fights enough injured competition, but other than that, I fully expect him to drop right back out of there. Mitakeyumi beat Oonosato and Kotozakura last time and still couldn't turn that into a winning record. Now he's still in the Joy, still has to fight all those guys up top, and it would be beyond stunning if he beat both of those killers again. Bushozan, maybe if he hadn't gotten popped up 4.5 ranks with his 8-7 record, I'd have a little hope for him, but those 8 wins included legendary Juryo Suckbag Daiamami and our poor wounded Tsurugisho. All credit in the world for finding a level of aggression that works much better than whatever the hell he tried to do previously, and he should see a lot of the guys he beat last time, but he's not replicating last Basho. Takara Fuji, come on. Y'all saw him last time. That first half of May was amazing, but this is his level in Makuuchi now. And as for Kotozakura, the most interesting thing about seeing him luck box his way back up here is if he can break Bushozan's record for fewest wins in his first 3 Makuuchi tournaments. Bushozan had 12, Kotozakura has 8 after 2. The fact it even seems possible should tell you his chances of accomplishing anything. And that's the tier list. If you've seen these before, you might have noticed we went through it by tier rather than going down the ranks. This is another little experiment, so let me know in the comments if you have a preference. It's not much different doing it one way versus the other, so I'm happy to go with the community vibe. The Onokatsu breakdown just needs to be edited, so I'm hoping we can get that out to y'all with at least a couple of days to check it out before the Basho starts. Other than that, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.